Somebody needs to control me because I maybe bought too many books in the first half of 2025, and that's what we're here to talk about today. This might be a little bit embarrassing. I was doing so well for not overspending on books throughout the first half of the year, and then things went swiftly downhill. In the last couple of months, I had every intention of coming here and being like, wow, look how much money I saved, and look how much I didn't overconsume. And then things went to shit. So, nobody judge me, okay? I promise most of these were like thrifted or on for a really good deal, and I just couldn't resist. So let's get into my book haul for the first half of 2025. Starting with January, of which there were 0. I did not purchase a single book in the entirety of January. Very proud of myself. I was off to a really good start for the year. In February, I bought 8 books. Let's talk about these ones. I'll start with Under the Fang. This is an anthology of vampire stories edited by Robert R. McCammon. I'd never heard of this, or I don't think any of the authors that are in this anthology, but I found it at a thrift store for $2.50, and I love vampires, so I figured why not try it out, see if I like it. Haven't read it yet, but I will at some point, maybe around Halloween. That'd be kind of fun. At that same thrift store, I also found a box set of the first 4 books in the Murderbot Diaries series. So that is All Systems Red, Artificial Condition, Rogue Protocol, and Exit Strategy. I've read this series before and I absolutely adore it. This is one of my favorite sci-fi series of all time. It's about a security robot who hacks its own coding in order to go rogue, but not for evil, only because it wants to spend time ignoring humans and watching soap operas and listening to music and just being left the fuck alone. However, the humans in its life just keep getting into trouble and it needs to go save them all the time, and it's very annoyed about it. I love this series so much, and this entire box set, all 4 books, was only $10 for 4 books, so obviously I was not gonna pass that up. And finally at that thrift store I found Swamp Thing by Alan Moore. This absolutely stunning hardcover edition with a fun surprise under the dust jacket. Look at that. Oh my god, it's gorgeous. I am so happy to have found this. I did read this and sadly didn't love it, but I'm gonna keep it just because it's so pretty. I just need this on my shelf. And then there were 2 books that I did buy new, but they were brand new releases from authors that I really enjoy. First up being Swordheart by Kingfisher. This is a re-release of an older book of hers in this absolutely stunning hardcover edition with this brand new cover, beautiful sprayed edges, and just absolutely gorgeous edition that I needed to have on my shelf. I read it soon afterwards and loved it to bits. It was so good and I can't wait to dive more into this world of hers that she's made. And lastly for that month was The River Has Roots by Amal El-Mohtar. This is one of the authors of This Is How You Lose the Time War, which I read last year and just absolutely adored it. It was such a good book. This is the newest release from that author. I kind of forget what it's about, but I know it has to do with fairies, so sign me up. In March, I only bought 3 books. Look at me go. Doing great for that month. First up was Bird Box by Josh Malerman. This is the book that inspired the movie. I did watch the movie several years ago, and I know that I liked it, but I kind of forget what happened in it. But I wanted to read this for an episode of Page to Screen at some point soon, and I found it at a thrift store for an unknown amount. They took off the sticker, but I think it was less than $5, so couldn't say no to that. And then at the same thrift store, I also got In the Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. I love this author, and I found this at that thrift store for $1.50. Like, are you kidding me? And it's in brand new, perfect condition. Like, of course I was gonna buy that. This was a crazy deal. I have read this now, and while it wasn't my favorite of his books, I did still have a good time reading it. But a man who was not the nicest during his life, but then he dies unexpectedly and is taken to this tea shop to wait until he's ready to cross over to the afterlife. And it's about what happens in the in-between time. And finally for March, I bought Born Jeans and Quash by Jillian Morris. This is a little tiny book of poetry by an Indigenous poet who is actually the poet laureate of a city near me, and also my friend's mom. This is her first published work, and this was beautiful. Oh, it was so stunning. I highly recommend this one if you're looking for a good book of poetry, and really sweet, but she also included some of my friend's art in the book as well, which is just so lovely that they have this together. But yeah, I had a great time reading this one as well. April was only 1 book, which was This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone. Again, read this one last year and fell in love with it. This is a weird little sci-fi novella about 2 people on opposite sides of the war where they are able to time travel and change the threads of time to either positively impact their side or try and sabotage the other side, and these 2 people end up falling in love through these letters that they leave for each other in different pockets of time. Beautiful story, the hype is real. I love this book and I can't wait to read it again. Now here's where things went a little bit downhill. In May I ended up buying 10 books My bad. I'm blaming Book Outlet. I placed an order and I shouldn't have. But also, no regrets. I'll do the ones that were not from Book Outlet first. The first one being Monk and Robot by Becky Chambers. This is a bind-up of A Psalm for the Wild-Built and A Prayer for the Crown-Shy, which are two of my favorite books in the entire world. I've read A Psalm for the Wild-Built in full, I think, 3 times, but I flip through it all the time and reread my favorite parts and just bask in the beauty that is that book. I'm actually due for a reread, so I'll probably do that soon. But when this was released, I had to get it just for collection reasons. I could not say no to this absolutely stunning edition of 2 books that mean the world to me. These are sci-fi novellas about a traveling tea monk who goes around and sets up a little traveling tea shop for people to be able to come and just let go of their worries and vent for a while and have a nice relaxing time with some tea, but they end up feeling pretty lost with their life, so they go on a pilgrimage and run into a robot, and the 2 of them become friends, and the story goes from there. It's a beautiful little story, and I definitely recommend it, especially if you are also feeling lost in your life, if you're not sure where you should be, or if you're in the right place right now. This is definitely a beautiful story to read when you're kind of feeling that way. And I finally got myself copies of 3 Mages and a Margarita and Warping Minds and Other Misdemeanours by Annette Marie. These are both book 1 in 2 different series that are interconnected. I read a different series that's set in the same world a few years ago, and I absolutely loved it, and I've been wanting to read the other ones ever since, and I've just never gotten around to it. But I treated myself and got myself books 1 in both of the other series, so I can finally at some point pick these up soon. These are urban fantasy novels that are set in Vancouver, and they follow a whole bunch of different kinds of creatures. There's demons, there's mages, there's a whole bunch of stuff, and they get into a bunch of trouble, basically. And then for that Book Outlet order that I mentioned, the first one that I got was Be Sure by Shannon McGuire. This is a bind-up of the first 3 books in the Whipper Children series, which is my #1 favorite series in the entire world. So obviously, I was gonna get this one. I was putting it off because I was wanting it when it first came out, but I was trying to behave, so I didn't get it, and I finally caved and got myself a copy of it. Look at this cover, right? Like, it's covered in doors. It's so beautiful. I needed this on my shelf. And this series follows a school for children who at some point in their life found a door to a different world, and that world became their home. It was where they belonged, but for some reason they ended up having to come back to our world, and now they just can't deal with the loss of their magic. So the school is for those children to either wait for their doors to open or to get used to being back in this world. Next up is Model Home by River Solomon. I'm obsessed with this cover. It's so bright and vibrant. I don't know how bright it is actually coming through on camera, but in person this is almost painful to look at, and I love that. It's aggressive. I forget exactly what this book is about, but I know it has to do with a haunted house, and I've also read from this author before, and I loved what I read, so I really want to get more into their work, and I just couldn't say no to having this insanely bright cover on my shelves. I also picked up The City in Glass by Nghi. I've read that other series by Nghi, the Empress of Salt and Fortune series. I love that series so much, and I really want to get more into their works as well. I'm a little hazy on the synopsis, but I know it has to do with angels and demons and that kind of thing, so right up my alley. And if the writing is anything like the other series of theirs that I've read, then I'm going to love this one as well. I also picked up Annihilation by VanderMeer. This is also going to be an episode of Page to Screen at some point soon. I have seen the movie already. I watched it a couple years ago and just fell in love with it, and the movie is the reason why I wanted to pick up the book, or really anything by this author. This series follows an area that's been cut off because there's some weird funky light going on, and people who go into that area do not come back out. That's all that I know about it. The movie was weird and wild as hell, and I can't wait to see how much better the book is gonna be. And then I picked up Evil in Me by Brom. I've read nothing from this author so far, but I really, really want to, and I keep not getting around to it. So I thought if I had one of their books on my shelf, maybe that would prompt me to get to them faster. And I just, again, couldn't say no to this book, partially because the cover is incredible, but it also has to do with rock and roll and demons, and that just sounds like a good time. And finally from Book Outlet, I picked up Oaths of Legacy and Vows of Empire by Emily Skrutskie, books 2 and 3 in the Bloodright trilogy. I read book 1 a few months ago and loved it. This is also a favorite author of mine. I have almost all of her books now, or if not all of them, I'm pretty sure, or at least close to it. This is a sci-fi series about our main character who is best friends with the crown prince of the empire that colonized their people. Things get very complicated, very messy. I had a great time reading book 1, and I can't wait to continue the series. And finally, for June, I can't even pick this up. I'm not even gonna try. I will drop all of them. So, in June, I bought 18 books. 18 books, guys. I don't know what happened. I was going through some stuff. And I've been very stressed out, and when I get stressed out, retail therapy is my go-to, and that is very much the case for June. So, let's get into it. First up, I bought 2 books off of my friend. The first one was The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I don't actually know what this is about, but they were selling it for 10 bucks and it's gorgeous. So yeah, I wasn't gonna say no to that one. This is the 10th anniversary special edition. Honestly, it was just pretty, and that was my main motivation. And I have no regrets. I also picked up Malice by Heather Walter from them. This one is a sapphic retelling of Sleeping Beauty, but told from the POV of the evil queen. It's been on my TBR for a hot minute, I think like 4 or 5 years, and I've been actively wanting to read this book and just not getting around to it. So I'm happy to finally own it, so maybe actually get around to reading it sometime soon. And then me and that same friend ended up going book thrifting one day together. I'm fully blaming them for this because they are a bad influence. They are an enabler. I am also the same. They also spent way too much money as a result of me encouraging them to do so. So it's at least a give and take. But on this book trip, I ended up buying 10 books just that one day. So my bad. First up is Royal Assassin and Assassin's Quest by Robin Hobb, books 2 and 3 in the Farseer trilogy. I just read book 1 maybe 2 months ago and really enjoyed it, so I can't wait to carry on with the series. I also love these covers, and I kind of want to get book 1 to match. I have like a different edition of book 1 that at the time of buying it I liked way better, but now I love these like classic fantasy covers and I kind of want them all to match, so I might do that. But I'm trying to not care so much about things matching. I know I shouldn't, but I kind of do. So either way, I got these ones. I also picked up Mortal Prey by John Sanford. I'd never heard of this. This is not my typical genre. I've never read anything in this genre, period, and really had no interest in doing so. Except there was this very kind old man there who was chatting with me. He saw my stack of books in my hand. He was like, "Oh my god, are you really gonna read all those?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I am." And then he was just like, "You know what book you would love? Let me go find it for you." And he dug through their shelves trying to find his favorite book in the entire world and told me that I would love it, even though he has no idea what my taste is. But it was only $4, and telling this lovely old man that I was going to read his favorite book made him so happy. And honestly, it sounds kind of cool. He said that it's about a woman who was married to a mob boss and somebody killed her husband by shooting him, but the bullet went through him and into her and ended up killing the baby that she was pregnant with, and this is her revenge story. So honestly, that sounds pretty badass. I also picked up The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Cordova. This is one of those cases where I saw a book that was vaguely familiar and I just picked it up because it was $6. So do I know what it's about? Not really, but I'm pretty sure it's witchy, and I'm assuming has to do with an inheritance of some kind. My thought is that maybe it's like a magical realism version of Knives Out. That'd be kind of sick, and I'd be very much here for that. Now, the book that I'm possibly the most hyped for, just in terms of how beautiful this cover is, I found The Sun and the Void by Gabriela Romero Lacruz in this absolutely incredible Illumicrate edition of it for $6. $6! Look at this. Like, come on. It has a fully custom cover, gorgeous sprayed edges. The back of it is beautiful as well. It has custom end pages and this stunning naked hardback. I mean, come on. How was I gonna not get this book? And it's also been on my TBR for a very long time, and it's going to be part of Backlist Bash at some point very soon. Do I know what it's about? No. It's been on my TBR for so long that I fully forget, and now I'm just going to go into it blind and have a good time. I also grabbed The Book Eaters by Sunya Dean. This is again a book where it was vaguely familiar. I'd heard of it, but it wasn't on my TBR, but my friends said that they really enjoyed it, so I got it. And I think it's literally just about people who eat books as food. Sounds cool. I don't know. I also got A Taste of Iron and Gold by Alexander Rowland. This has been on my TBR for so long, and I'm so mad at myself that I haven't read it yet. This sounds like it's right up my alley. It's queer fantasy with royals and a bodyguard. Like, yeah, I want to read that, and yet I have not. But now I own it, and it's beautiful, and I better love it. Next up is Black Sun and Fevered Star by Rebecca Roanhorse. Do I know what it's about? No. But I've heard a million people talking about how incredible this series is, and I definitely had a case of FOMO. I'm kind of scared of these books, I'm not gonna lie. Just for some reason, they intimidate me. I think just because the hype is so big for these books that I have these huge expectations for it, but they sound incredible, and I can't wait to get to these ones at some point, hopefully really soon. And finally, from this one bookstore day, I picked up She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This is another book that I've been really scared of for a long time. It wasn't even on my TBR because I was so intimidated by it that I just took it off. For some reason, I thought this book was huge. I thought it was like 800 pages. It is not. It is a perfectly reasonable size, and I think that was the main thing that was scaring me away from it. But once I saw it, I'm like, that's not that big. and it was relatively cheap, so I got it, and hopefully I end up loving it. I know it's high fantasy, it's queer, and it's apparently devastating, so can't wait. And then these next 6 books were just the rest of the books that I ended up buying in June. On a trip to Toronto in June, I went to Baka Phoenix, which is an indie bookstore that is entirely sci-fi and fantasy. I've been trying to go there for so long, and I finally got around to going. And I picked up 2 things from it. First was Rosemary and Rue by Shannon McGuire. This is the first book in the October Day series. I've been really wanting to read more books by this author because she's written my favorite series in the entire world, but I've read basically nothing else by her. And she has this gigantic backlist of books. So I'm going to start my journey with her here, and hopefully I love them. And I can't wait to one day have a gigantic shelf of just her books. And the other one that I picked up from there was The Martian by Andy Weir. I've just posted episode 2 of Page to Screen, where I read this book and watched the movie right afterwards. I'll leave that link down below if you want to go check that one out. But this one is a sci-fi novel about an astronaut who was on a mission to Mars, but he was injured and his crew thought that he was dead, so they ended up leaving him there. But he actually survived, and nobody knows that he is there on Mars, and he has to try and survive for 4 years until the next mission comes to Mars to hopefully rescue him. This was a fascinating read. I really enjoyed it. It was hilarious and really tense, edge of your seat the whole time. I had such a fun time with this book, and I definitely recommend it. But again, you can hear more thoughts in Page to Screen. Indigo was doing a really good sale the one day, so I went and ended up picking up The Familiar by Lee Bardugo for half off. So love that for me. This one I know is historical fiction, and I think it's like magical realism maybe. I kind of forget the details of it, but I have read the Grishaverse from this author, and while it's not my favorite series, I did still quite like it. So I wanted to check out her adult book and see how I feel about it. People either love this book or hate it, and there doesn't seem to be much in between, so hopefully I'll end up loving it. Also from Indigo, I got The Sword of Kaigen by Amal in this absolutely beautiful edition of it with this beautiful gold foiling on it. I read this book for book club recently and just completely fell in love with it. I have not stopped thinking about it. This book broke my heart in so many different ways, and I just can't get enough of it, so I really wanted to have it on my shelf as a trophy, and also so that I can reread it whenever I feel like it, because wow, this was so good. This one follows 2 main characters. One of them is a 14-year-old boy who is heir to his family name, and he has these really cool powers, and the other main character is his mother, and it's their lives while they are going through a whole bunch of like government propaganda and a possible war is brewing. Incredible book, heartbreakingly beautiful. I truly can't get over how amazing this book was. And now these last 2 books are the result of that same friend as before. I told you they are very much an enabler when it comes to book buying. I'm obviously not mad about it. I was going to buy them anyways. I just needed somebody to tell me that it was okay, so I did it. But the other day we went to this beautiful, adorable little indie bookstore, and I ended up picking up Horsefly. This is a Canadian book and was translated from French. I'd never heard of this book before, but I realized that I actually have 0 French-Canadian books on my shelves, which is terrible because my entire family is French-Canadian and I really should have more books on my shelf. And this one sounded disgusting and really cool. It's a sci-fi horror about biochemically engineered horseflies as a weapon. Sounds gross. And after that trip to the bookstore, we went and did some errands together and went to Walmart, where I ended up finding this beautiful edition of The Ragpicker King by Cassandra Clare, which is the sequel to Swordcatcher. I have not read Swordcatcher yet, but as you can see, I own the entirety of Cassandra Clare's books, so I knew at some point I was going to have to buy this anyways, and I own the first book in hardcover, and this was 30% off. So I got it. But it's also beautiful. I mean, like, just the cover itself is gorgeous, but it has a map on the inside, which I love, and the thing that actually convinced me to go for it was this. I mean, come on. How beautiful is that? I had to get it. I couldn't not. I'm weak, okay? But yeah, those are all the books that I bought in the first half of the year. I need to be stopped, and I'm now doing a no by July, which I've already failed because I've already bought 4 books so far in July. I'm judging myself, okay? It is what it is. And now I have to try and figure out how to make a thumbnail with this gigantic pile of books, and then fix my shelves because they're now a disaster. But that'll do it for this video. Let me know what books that you've bought so far this year, and if you've read any of the ones that I've hauled, let me know as well. I would love to hear your thoughts on them. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will catch you guys in the next video.